Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga has hundreds of characters, including some deep cuts I wasn't expecting. Probably the biggest deep cut has to be Mr. Bones, the B-1 battle droid which appeared in Star Wars Aftermath. Now, a lot of you may not remember, but when Star Wars Aftermath and its sequels were releasing, Mr. Bones was one of the most popular book-only characters, and this is one of his first appearances off the page. So, who is Mr. Bones? Let's talk about it. Mr. Bones is, well, a little bit disturbing. He was a highly modified B-1 battle droid created by Temmin Snap Wexley. Yeah, that guy, when he was a kid. His modifications were both internal and exterior. Mr. Bones used vibro blades instead of limbs. He had a skull-like addition to his head, and he was more robust and flexible than the average battle droid. What's more notable, however, is that Mr. Bones received superior programming and was trained with a ton of highly illegal programs. What's most interesting, though, is that Mr. Bones managed to do all of this while being extraordinarily creepy, and I think that's one of the things that really stuck with fans. Here's his introduction from Star Wars Aftermath. It stood up, its bones rattle as it does. Literal bones, the bones of beast, fish, birds, bound to its metal limbs with twine and wire. Those aren't the only modification to the droid's appearance either. Half its head is missing, replaced with a telescoping red eye. The front of its nose has been sharpened and curved. All of it painted black and red, meant to strike fear. When it speaks, its voice is distorted and filled with static. Like an ordinary battle droid, but severely corrupted. It garbles and laughs. And more than anything, it enjoys inflicting pain. Bones, Temmin says, throwing his arms around the droid. I performed violence, the droid warbles. Jas wonders if that's pride she hears in the thing's discordant voice. Roger, Roger. Mr. Bones is a total mess. He's always half falling apart. His programming is failing. Sometimes he falls behind in conversation, but he is extraordinarily effective when it comes to violence. In the first Aftermath book, as Mr. Bones' friends are being attacked by a TIE fighter, he runs up a building, jumps into the air, and cannonballs through the front of a TIE's windshield, destroying it. As you may have gleaned from that previous section, Mr. Bones is very, very loyal to his friends, especially Temmin Wexley, and that gives him this sort of endearing quality, almost like Chopper, HK-47, even R2-D2 at times, the often violent, but also obedient and caring droids that protect their masters. Let's talk a bit about Mr. Bones' history. He was scavenged from a CIS factory on the planet Akiva by a young Temmin Wexley. And again, yes, this guy. Wexley continued to modify both his internals and his programming throughout the years, and by the time of the Aftermath trilogy, he helps Wexley, his mother, and their small crew survive encounters with various Imperials. Mr. Bones is injured and even nearly destroyed on several occasions during the first Aftermath book, including the aforementioned TIE crash and another occasion where he's shot by several stormtroopers, but he's eventually repaired and accompanies Temmin in the early days after the Battle of Endor up until the Battle of Jakku. At Jakku, for most of the battle, Mr. Bones accompanies Temmin's mother, Nora, who, by the way, is actually a character I like from the early New Canon Expanded Universe, who sort of seems like she's been neglected. But near the end of the battle, Mr. Bones does manage to save his master, Temmin, who was piloting a fighter during the battle, but unfortunately is destroyed in a mistaken case of friendly fire. I've talked about the Aftermath trilogy before on this channel. For me, they are very, very hit and miss. I like some of the plot elements. I really dislike a lot of the world building, and I really, really dislike the writing. It's way too flowery, way too wispy. It just doesn't really work in my opinion. However, for me, Mr. Bones and his relationship with Temmin, Nora, and even Singer was a consistent high point in the series. That's mostly where Mr. Bones' story ends, and that's certainly where my knowledge of his story ends. However, my interest was piqued several years ago when he returned in a quasi-state for the Poe Dameron comics. Of course, little Temmin Wexley, yes again this guy, would grow up to fight and eventually die for the Resistance, but in the Poe Dameron comics, Mr. Bones is brought back to life in a small respect. A personality template, sort of a collection of all of Mr. Bones' programming, is uploaded to the commando droid Nunzix. In his final moments, he would once again become a version of Mr. Bones. Now, this isn't actually Mr. Bones. The comparison is almost like a clone. No memories, but sort of the same personality. So yeah, that's the story of Mr. Bones. Probably Canon's closest version of HK-47. I actually didn't remember this from my read, but the Wikipedia article actually points out that Mr. Bones even quotes HK-47 by saying, "Commentary, I say we blast the meat bag and save you the trouble, master," with a strange, hard-angled accent. There are other connections with HK-47 as well. That droid notably had his life expanded in other media after the original Knights of the Old Republic video game. Either way, I thought it was very, very cool that Mr. Bones is now in LEGO Star Wars. Definitely a favorite new canon character of mine. But what about you? Have you read Star Wars Aftermath? Were you familiar with Mr. Bones? Let me know all of that and more down below. Just a reminder, guys, I'm uploading a ton of LEGO Star Wars content, not only on my second channel, X2, but we've also got a clips channel where I'm uploading 60-second or less videos. People are really, really loving them. So if that's something that interests you, either keep an eye out for your homepage because they're making their way far and wide, or consider subscribing at the link down below. Till next time, guys, be safe, have a good one. May the Force be with you.